I'm Dan Galusha and welcome to another edition of Shoot and Plank. This is a special one today. Dr. Jim Norquist, he is allowing me to try out his old RWS Diana, and it's in Model 45, which is no longer made. In fact, this one was made probably back towards the beginning because it was made in West Germany. They made them in Scotland for a while. RWS Diana now is controlled by Umarex. And like I said, they don't have the Model 45, and this one probably has the old, I guess it's a leather washer in it, or a seal rather, and they've changed that now, of course. They got like the silicone seals and that sort of stuff. And Umarex will redo the gun for you if you want. You can get a hold of them and they'll have you send it in and they'll redo the whole thing if you've got one of these old 45s, but you know, how many's got one? It's a brake barrel. I'm going to put my glasses down here. By the way, those are my shooting glasses that Jim even prescribed for me. This is a brake barrel, like I said. It's a pretty strong barrel brake. Probably about 30-some pounds, I think they say on them. The front sight's a little different. It's got the old-fashioned hooded sight. In fact, if you can see it here, you can see how skinny that thing is at the top. It's a skinny sight up at the top. And it's got open sights, and that's what we're going to be shooting. And by the way, when you break this barrel, it resets your safety, just like a lot of the other guns are doing. And you've always got to remove that and make sure that you got it pushed back up so that you can fire. If it's down here, you're not going to fire. Up here it is. And I forget that every now and then. It's in a little bit different spot. Like I said, I'll show you up close here. It's right here. Here's your safety. There you are, right there. That's on safe, and put it up here and she's ready to fire. And it's got adjustable sights for windage and elevation. What we're going to do is a series here, because being that this isn't my gun, I want to get it back to Jim. And it's really, really well built. Nice wooden stock. I'd say probably the closest model that I've seen to it in the RWS Diana is Umarex's Model 34. Now that's a lot like, and it's got about 1,000 feet per second. But this one, I don't know. From what I've been reading, you're lucky to have 800 feet per second. It sounds more like it's down in about the 675, something like that. But we're going to fire at 10, 25, and 50 yards. I think that 50 yards is going to be a stretch. And we're going to be planking. Not just target shooting, but planking. I want to see what it does both, and I'll be using my empty seafoam cans. So let's start doing some shooting, and then we'll be back after it's all over. Now let's set up some things and try some planking. Well, so much for the empty seafoam cans. Knocked those off with 5 shots. So now what we're going to do is move back to 25 yards and let's see what we're going to do from there. Got to change targets out too. Well, that was a paper part. Take a look at that later, see how well we did. We're going to try to do some plinking now, like we did at the 10-yard mark. We're going to do it here at 25, so reset things and start plinking. Okay, 5 shots on the plinking and 5 cans. Got them. So now we're going to try the ultimate. We're going to go to 50 yards. And I don't know how this thing's going to really work at 50 yards. It's an lot older gun, like I said, and I really don't know what the FPS is on it. Of course, we're going to be talking a little bit more about it anyway. But let's set it up at 50 and we'll see what happens. Well, you'll notice on this 50-yard one, I've actually put a pistol target down there so that I can see that black bullseye a little bit better back there at 50 yards, because these are open iron sights, but the difference with this is it's got that skinny front one right at the top. So anyway, we'll see what happens, and then we're going to plink again like we did before. I just got to figure out how I want to set it up. I'm probably going to be setting them on the ground. Anyway, got to go back to the 50-yard line and let's see what happens. Alright, now I know I hit something down there. I still haven't seen it. We'll look at that later, because what we're going to do now is we're going to plink. By the way, I told you, of course, that I was using the bigger bullseye to try to help me see it. You know, like I said, I don't know, you've probably seen it already. But I'm going to try to plink, and I'm using the RWS Powerball. That's a new pellet they have that's supposed to be a little bit more accurate, and like I said, this gun has got a lower velocity, so I don't know. I haven't seen it down there, see what I've got, but I'm going to set up the empty seafoam cans. We're going to shoot at those again, see if I can hit those from 50 yards. I set one on top. Knew it didn't dare set any more, because if I actually hit it, it would knock the other one off. And plus, I don't even know if it's going to stay there if this wind gets it. It's not a heavy wind, thank heavens. So I'm going to move back, try it again, see what happens here at 50 yards. The plinking didn't actually work out that well. What I want to do, just for the heck of it, you can see what I did. I knocked one off by hitting the target, I think. The other one I actually hit it, but it just isn't worth it. So I'm going to try a different pellet and see how that works on that center area. See if we can hit something there. So let's try it again. Well, now let's take our targets and our cans and go back and talk about this. I'm anxious to see what that thing looks like down here. I know you've already seen it. Well, the Diana did pretty good, actually. At least at, I don't know, 25 yards, yeah, it hit. I hit, what was it? I fired 5 shots at each one of those as far as the cans go on the plinking. 5 shots at 10 and 5 shots at 25, and I knocked them right off. Also, I'm going to show you the cans while we're talking about it before we get to the targets. And I'm going to lay this down where it's not wet or muddy. Put it over on the case is what I did. Now, the reason I brought different cans with me, and I brought a couple of new ones so that I definitely knew where they hit. And I would say probably this one, I always aim for this red label on it. I'd say that strike was probably at the 10-yard mark. This one up here was probably the 25. I might have had it set up a little bit different because of the dents, and I'm noticing on these others, I had one here, and it went in right there, and it just dented right there. And so that was another new one that just 2 shots on them. So those 2 I could tell what I was doing, but I actually, in accuracy, it wasn't too bad because I was shooting at that red label, but there, it's hitting right there. So that worked pretty good on those, but I could tell by seeing that the velocity was definitely not enough to take it to the 50, which we went ahead and we did it, and it did hit 50, and we're going to talk about the targets now. Here they are. This is the one that I shot at 10 yards. It's a regular 10-meter air target. You can see everything that I shot was in the bullseye area. I've shot this gun before and done a lot better, in fact. I've put groupings of 1 inch of 21 rounds in 1 inch. And that was at 10 yards too, but it was a little bit more controlled, no wind, no cold, and it's cold out here today. That was shooting indoors, and this was shooting outdoors. So I'd say that's not really all that bad, because that's at 10 yards, and I hit it all right in the black. So that makes me happy. And by the way, I shot 10 rounds at each one, tried to, I guess that's what I counted out, and I used RWS hobby pellets on that one. I did the same thing on this, and as I noticed that as I moved out further, it started shooting to the right more. I still got about 3 in there. Now that's the 25 yard, but again, it was starting to move outward, and I got one down over here. The 50 yard, it's a disappointment, and it's not. The plinking, as you know, I gave up on that. I managed to hit 1 can, and the other one I hit the target and knocked it off the top. So what I did, and I shot 2 different types of pellets, as you know, and I don't know where they were actually hitting. I shot I think the best ones, because what I did is I'm running out of the RWS hobby pellets, so I went to an H&N pellet that I've shot before. In fact, I'd shot before at 10 yards and done very well with, so I thought, well, I'll try that the second time. The first time was the RWS Powerball. Well, definitely the Powerball did the best as far as for 50 yards. I did not try it at 10. You know how to do that sometime, but not going to today. I've done plenty already. This is what we got, what you've seen when it was firing. I got 1 in the pistol bullseye area. Again, it was going to the right, just like it did at 25 yards. So if I'd adjusted my windage, maybe I'd have done it, but I don't want to do a lot of adjusting on this. This is Jim's gun, and you know, I could have adjusted myself by pulling it over. I couldn't see it that far back because I wasn't getting out my little monocular scope, and I just was shooting. Actually, what I wanted to do is hit the paper, and I did. At 50 yards to hit the paper with that gun, I'd say that's not really all that bad. There's not a lot more to say about it, except that it does have a rail on it, by the way, and I imagine the 34 does too. And if a 34 is anything like this and built as well as this gun, and I know the top sight's a little bit different on the 34, that I could see. I would say that it's probably a doggone good gun, because this one really is. And as I said, to me it's a 10-meter gun, and for 10 meters that thing's going to do great, and it doesn't do that bad at 25 yards either. 50 yards, well, that you might have to work on a little bit. So until next time, well, before I say that, I want to thank Jim for letting me use this, because it's really an experience to get to do that. That was really nice of him. So until next time, shoot safe and have a great day of plinking.